What is up, Rangers fans? This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James, and this is all your latest Rangers news. Guys, it is Champions League match week. It does seem very weird that we are in July. It's the 21st of July today, and we are already getting ready for competitive football. We can talk, I suppose, all we want about the team being undercooked or not ready yet for this game. We'll talk about that obviously shortly. We've also got some Dor Turgeman news as well. Obviously this is coming on the back, obviously, of the renewed interest apparently from Everton, Udinese, and of course Feyenoord in Hamza Igerman. We're going to talk a little bit of that as well. We've also got a little bit of stuff around JD Gassama. Some real, media. The media sometimes just shock me and amaze me with what they do to try and cause issues around our club. We'll come to that as well. So look, let's start off with the Dor Turgeman news. Let's start with the headline news, obviously, which is the deal for Dor Turgeman. Now, Rangers have reportedly, now we don't know how true this is. This has just obviously been in the media quite a lot, that this is something that keeps coming up and keeps coming up and keeps coming up. Now, given the fact that Rangers this summer have kind of identified a target, moved for that target, signed that target, been very quick, efficient, unlike previous years in securing their targets, I think there may be some element of doubt whether Dor Turgeman is a target. Now, I mean, realistically, I think that Rangers are in the market for a striker if one of or both of Hamza and Cyril Dessers leave the club. Look, I think, for me, if it came down to a direct choice, do you get rid of Hamza? Do you get rid of Cyril Dessers? I mean, for me, you keep Hamza, you get rid of Dessers. Hamza is by far the better player. It makes zero sense to me to get... it makes no sense to me to get rid of Hamza and keep someone like Cyril Dessers, who is probably the third best striker in the club. Yes, I know he scores goals, but he's just not a good all-round striker. He lacks pace. He doesn't understand the offside rule. He's got the centre of balance of a drunk toddler. He just doesn't have the aggression. Centre halves can out-muscle him very easily. He falls over way too easily, and he's now got a bit of a reputation for it. He doesn't really fit Russell Martin's system. So, for me, Hamza's the man. But if it comes down to selling both of them, and I hope that, I really hope that we do sell Dessers this summer. I think now is the perfect time. I think if we let him go into it, have another season with us, I think that, you only face a situation where you've got to either extend him, which would be a catastrophic mistake for this club, or you've got to sell him for an even more reduced price next summer. But on the Dor Turgeman thing, Dor Turgeman is a beast. He's a quality striker. He's a top class young player who is only going to get better. He's both footed. He's good in the air. He's good on the ground. He's direct. He knows what the goal is. He puts the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. Now, the issue around this is that the boss of Maccabi Tel Aviv has said that basically it would take, in his words, a fairy tale offer for the club to consider selling Dor Turgeman. This is the source for this, obviously, is Rangers Review. It's also been reported in other media outlets as well. So look, there's probably some truth in this, if it's been reported by reputable sources, outside of the club. But this is what their manager, and their manager is a guy called Zarko Lazatic, and he said that basically it's going to take a mega offer to secure Dor Turgeman. This is what he said. He said he's a football beast in reference to Dor Turgeman. Only a fairy tale offer would tempt the club to sell the player. 4 million would be nowhere near enough. Now, many people have said that is kind of the initial level that Rangers were going in at, feeling that 4 million was fair to pay for the player. But then there's been other reports saying that Rangers are willing to pay 5-6 million for the player. I mean, I don't know what fairy tale offer is. I don't know what they're wanting. I'm not obviously in negotiations with Maccabi Tel Aviv. I'm just giving opinion on this, guys. If anyone says, criticises or says, well, you're talking out the top of your head. I'm not. I'm just talking about this story, talking about this as a fan, as someone who'd love to see Dor Turgeman at the club. Now, the issue is that the Israeli club don't want to sell Turgeman. Now, why don't they want to sell him? Why would you not want to sell someone you can get an awful lot of money for? At the perfect point in their career, you're taking a risk on him getting injured or downturning or him not playing as well, whatever. So, why do they want to sell? Well, the feeling is that the big feeling for Maccabi Tel Aviv is that if they sold Dor Turgeman, they would struggle to get a replacement in from outside of Israel. Now, given the current situation in the Middle East, given what is going on with Israel and their and the conflict that they're currently fighting. In terms of obviously the situation around the self-defense of Israel, they would find it really hard with that ongoing, with the strikes that they've been on Tel Aviv from Iran. For them to bring in a foreign striker. I mean, let's face it, which foreign footballer is going to want to go and move to a war zone, which is effectively what Israel has kind of become, since obviously the horrific events of October 7th, where obviously innocent people were killed. And, we've since had obviously the horrific illegal strikes by Iran, which obviously America and Israel have responded to. But the feeling is very much that they wouldn't be able to bring anybody in because no one wants to come. So therefore they don't really want to sell Turgeman. So it would have to be an unbelievable offer for them to consider it a too good to refuse deal. Now, whether or not Rangers are willing to do that and spend an awful lot of money on bringing in a player like Turgeman, who is still relatively unproven and young at this point in time, is kind of uncertain. It does kind of pour a little bit of cold water on it. It does kind of put a bit of a sort of spoke in the whole process, and maybe Dor Turgeman is not for us this summer due to the situation in Israel and due to this price tag that is quite clearly been placed on his head. Like I said, I don't know what the price tag is. It may be then that Rangers look at this and say, well, okay, look, Turgeman, that's an option for next summer now. We look at perhaps a shorter term option. We look at, say, Luke de Jong, who I spoke about the other day, or Jamie Vardy again. Now his name comes back round. Someone like de Jong, who's 34, going on 35. Bring him in, give him a 1-year contract, let him sort of fill that gap that is made by the departure of Dessers or the departure of Hamza, and then obviously rely hopefully that Danilo can continue his excellent form of pre-season. I mean, Danilo has been absolutely fantastic pre-season, and I think showing that he is the best all-round forward at the club. But, the de Jong could come in and be a short-term measure, and then next summer we go back in for Turgeman. That could be a situation, given obviously that things may have settled down in the Middle East by then, and Maccabi Tel Aviv may be in a better position to actually do business because they'll know they'll be able to bring in another striker. Guys, that's where we're up to. I'd love to know your thoughts. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Right, look, let's talk a little bit of JD Gassama and the media causing trouble. Look, we all know the media love to cause trouble when it comes to Rangers. They do. They just do. Because, let's face it, no one likes us. We don't care. Now, Sheffield Wednesday fans are seething. They're really angry because they feel that Rangers have got an absolute bargain with the signing of JD Gassama. 2.2 million, they feel, for a player they feel should be more around 8 to 10 million, is a disgrace. And the club have kind of stabbed the fans in the back. They've stabbed the players in the back. They've really gone and done the dirty on Sheffield Wednesday with this short-term deal, which is all about paying players and holding off the creditors and the liquidators from the door at Hillsborough, which is really sad. Like I said before, Sheffield Wednesday are a great historic club, a club with a very classy bunch of fans. But Gassama, obviously, I think this is positive and negative, I suppose, for Rangers. That aspect, it's negative, I suppose, that the fact that the fans feel they've been treated badly. I don't like to see other clubs' fans feeling they've been treated that way. I don't like to see other clubs' fans who I have respect for feeling, that they've been kind of stabbed in the back on this, and that's not great. The positive, I suppose, is that, it shows that Gassama quite clearly is a very talented footballer and someone who can make a big difference for Rangers. If their fans are getting that worked up over losing him, he quite clearly is a very talented player. And I think, look, anyone who's watched any football in the Championship and seen him play for Sheffield Wednesday can quite clearly see this is a very promising, talented young footballer. Quick, speedy, good at taking on players, good at getting after players. So, look, this is a good footballer. This is a good footballer. So that's really positive. And that is the positive side of it. Now, the media have tried to cause issues and problems and said that JD Gassama has caused a huge own goal and a huge issue with Rangers fans because he wore a Boston Celtics basketball kit when he first came to the club. This was, of course, because he came directly from Sheffield Wednesday training, who were also training at St George's Park. So he came straight from Sheffield Wednesday training session to ours, wearing a Boston Celtics basketball top, an NBA basketball top. Now, straight away, you've got the whole concept of Boston Celtics. It's the Irish club. It's the Catholic, the Celtics logo, etc., etc. Mate, I couldn't give a monkey's what he was wearing. I genuinely don't care what he was wearing. I mean, I think the media are just being really irresponsible on this one. They're just, again, trying to cause problems, trying to stir things up, trying to cause issues within the club. Like I said, I couldn't care less if he was wearing a New York Knicks basketball top, a Chicago Bulls. That would be very classy if he was wearing a Chicago Bulls one. Massive Bulls fan. Grew up watching Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Dennis Rodman. Amazing. It's not an NBA podcast, sorry. You know, a Utah Jazz, LA Lakers. I'd hate it if I'd be more angry if he was wearing an LA Lakers top, to be perfectly honest with you. But, you know, look, at the end of the day, I couldn't give a monkey's what he was wearing. You know, he could have been in his pants and vest as far as I was concerned. The fact that the boy has come to Rangers, the fact the boy wants to play for Rangers, the fact the boy has spoken about how he sees this club as a massive club, how he sees this as a massive opportunity for him, how, you know, he's very obviously enthusiastic about coming to the club, that he wants to get started, that he wants to play, that he wants to be a Rangers player. So look, at the end of the day, I couldn't give a monkeys what he was wearing, guys. The media need to just forget it and stop trying to cause trouble. It's bloody ridiculous. Get over yourselves, boys and girls in the media. Right, look, it's Monday today, Tuesday tomorrow. It is the game tomorrow. We do play Panathinaikos. It is the first leg at Ibrox. I mean, look, we can discuss all we want about whether we feel this team is ready and good to go for that game. You know, I think, personally speaking, I think it's undercooked. I don't think we've played enough competitive games. I don't think we've played opposition of a high enough level. I think we've played too many closed door games. I think, you know, I can see why he's done it. Look, don't get me wrong. You know, he wants to keep the pressure off the players. He wants to have more time to work with them, to get the whole ethos of how he wants to play into the players. I get that, you know, but we've played only one, what I would call proper pre-season game, one proper tricky pre-season game against a very good Club Brugge or Club Bruges, depending on how you want to pronounce it, team. You know, realistically, I would have preferred to see us playing perhaps midweek last week another game against a European team or against an English team, to give us a bit more of a test, to give us a bit more of a chance to sharpen the skills a little bit. Now, look, with the greatest respect to Dunfermline, to Hamilton Academicals, to you know, to TNS, to all those teams that we've played in these behind closed doors games, you know, and people say, oh, well, they tried to get the Partick game done, but the police said, no, not Partick. That's not going to sharpen your skills playing against some second-rate Scottish team. Like I said, I'm sorry, I don't mean, I sound disrespectful, I know, but, you know, if you compare it to kind of playing against, I don't know, say we've got a game against, let's say, Anderlecht, or against, let's say a game against Racing Santander or Deportivo La Coruña, or against one of the Portuguese teams, brought Braga over for a game, or, you know, brought, I don't know, one of the German teams over, or brought one of the Dutch teams over for a game. You know, to me, that would have given us more of an opportunity to sharpen up and to be a bit more match savvy going into this game. And I think it's going to take time for the players to get into the game. And the hope is that obviously Panathinaikos, who I think are coming into this game a little bit more prepared. Yes, they've lost a player. Yes, they're not a great run club. You know, I think we'll give them an advantage. Now, to me personally, and I've said this all along, I don't see Panathinaikos as big a threat as a lot of people do. You know, a lot of people think, oh, it's done, it's over. Rangers are not going to progress because it's Panathinaikos. It's the most difficult tie. I mean, I get, and I understand that argument. Of course, I do. You know, and Panathinaikos are no mugs. You know, respect to them. That they're a good European side, but they're not Olympiacos. Olympiacos are the top team in Greece. And if you consider we went to Olympiacos, we went to Piraeus, one of the most difficult places to play, a place where English Premier League teams have gone and lost, Villa, for instance, in recent years. And we went there and got a draw with arguably a worse squad, with arguably one of the poorest Rangers squads in many years. We went and got a draw against them. Now, if you can go to Piraeus and get a draw against Olympiacos, then realistically, should you be scared of playing Panathinaikos? Probably not. You know, I'm not writing this off. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying we're going to walk it. It's still going to be a tricky tie, but I don't think it's as scary as as people think it's going to be. But like I said, I do feel there's a little bit of an undercooked feel about this team, and it will take time for the team to get into kind of that more competitive way of playing. And I know pre-season friendlies are pre-season friendlies, but you know, when you play against teams like, for example, Club Bruges, or you bring over Hamburg, or you bring over Anderlecht, or you bring over AZ Alkmaar, or you bring over a Braga, or you bring over a Lille or someone like that to play, there is a naturally more competitive level to that anyway. Or if you bring up one of the English clubs, for example, if we played Leeds or we played Middlesbrough now in the midweek, there's a bit more of a competitive edge to it. I know games were moved for ticketing reasons and footballing reasons and policing reasons, and I understand that, but there surely could have been a way around that, to work around that, to kind of do something about bringing a bit more competition in there and working this team a little bit harder. I just feel there's a little bit of an undercooked, guys. We'll look at the game, obviously, in a bit more depth in tomorrow's Matchday News. Guys, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation today. I love your views on the stories we've covered in today's video. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Guys, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I'll catch you on the next one.